Yeah, gotta dig 50 Cent. Gotta dig 50 Cent. All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, people, beautiful people out there. Constant Approach live stream, December 14th. Two fantastic topics that we're gonna touch on tonight. The first one that we're gonna get into is this ongoing um, situation between Madonna and 50 Cent. So just to get everybody caught up on the history of this particular story, Madonna recently posted some photos to her Instagram. I guess it's like a Racy photo shoot that she was doing. She wasn't necessarily doing this of her own volition. It's like an official photo shoot type deal, right? So it's not like she was just being on the internet, being, thirst trapping for no reason. She was doing a Racy photo shoot, and some of the pics that she was posting, they were, um, definitely, something that, people are going to look at. They're eye catching, right? They're eye popping, to say the least. And Madonna has a history of sort of breaking the fourth wall when it comes to traditional notions of like women's sexuality. So like she's well into like her 50s now or something like that. Like she's up there. But for her, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's, where she's just got this, she's a part of this coalition that's trying to reinvent the wheel and suggest that age is nothing. You can still be as sexy and embrace your sexuality just as much as any other woman, regardless of how old you are.
She's 63, bro.
She's 63. Okay. So I gave her too many years. All right. So she's 63. And she posted these pics to her Instagram, and 50 Cent had a response. 50 Cent posted something to his Instagram. Basically, he was trolling, and what he did was he posted a meme of the Wizard of Oz. So anybody who doesn't know about the Wizard of Oz, there's a scene from the Wizard of Oz where there's a tornado. It picks up a house, and the house gets dropped on the Wicked Witch of the West, and all you see is her feet dangling from beneath the house. And obviously, the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz is depicted as like an old hag, right? So 50 Cent, being a troll, he posted this meme to his Instagram, and he said, "That's Madonna under the bed trying to do like a version at 63. She shot out if she don't get her old ass up." Now, 50 Cent, if you know anything about 50 Cent, he is not averse to being an internet troll. He trolls people. And I believe, and the reason why I wanted to talk about this was mainly because of Madonna's response and where she took it is the reason why I wanted to talk about this. But Madonna, in her response, kind of took it to levels that I wasn't even thinking about when I initially saw 50 Cent's response. Now, since 50 Cent responded in the way that he did, he got backlash. And so he bent the knee, took his post down, and apologized to Madonna for quote unquote hurting her feelings. But make no mistake about it, 50 Cent wasn't apologizing directly to Madonna, but I believe that he was apologizing to, I don't even know how I would characterize this. I think that he was just apologizing to essentially cancel culture mob, I think, is who he was. He was trying to placate to that base, smooth things over so that he cannot continue to traverse down the rabbit hole of being somebody who might risk being canceled. And I firmly believe these days that no one is above the possibility of being canceled. I don't care how positive your Q rating is. If you say the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong way, you can get dealt with, especially when it comes to this social media stuff. So he responded, but Madonna before 50 Cent responded, Madonna responded to, what 50 Cent had to say. And so here is Madonna's response to what 50 had to say.
Okay, so this is a message for 50 Cent. I want to respond to your response, to my response to your post. which was essentially you were trying to shame me. You were trying to humiliate me. Yeah, your apology is fake. It's bullshit and it's not valid. Let me just hit those 4 or 5 points about your apology being invalid. Number one, it's not hard to find footage of you and me hanging out.
Madonna's next door. She over there rehearse. I take you over there, say hi to Madonna later. It's an old friend of mine. You understand what I'm saying? I'm kind of big, baby. Think the other rappers just walk over Madonna's rehearsal? Huh? Security.
Number two, an apology is not valid if you don't know what you're apologizing for. What you should be apologizing for is your misogynistic, sexist, ageist behavior and remarks. Number three, you didn't hurt my feelings because I don't take it personally. I could never take it personally because you're not coming from an enlightened place. Number four, you say that you're not benefiting from it. Of course you're benefiting from it. That is what social media is all about. You do understand that, right? We post things about ourselves and we use Instagram and other forms of social media because we want attention. We want people to buy our products. We want people to invest in our brands. We want people to listen to our music. We want people to go to our concerts. We want people to notice us. We want people to like us. There's nothing wrong with any of those things, but don't kid yourself if you think you have an Instagram account and you're not benefiting from it. Shut it down. Stop lying to yourself. Okay, so you're reposting somebody else's low level of consciousness posting that are meant to shame and humiliate other people. That's fucked up. You are trying to put a limit on when women should be able to feel good about themselves. So finally, I just want to say, I forgive you, and I hope that one day you wake up and see a different point of view. I wish you all the best. That's it. Okay?
All right. All right. So here's the thing with this. So number one, I agree with her from this standpoint. His apology was not genuine. I agree. He does not know what he is apologizing for. I also agree. But that is because I don't necessarily. I agree with her in saying that because, like I said at the opening of this video, I think that 50 Cent's contrition was something that was calculated. Whenever you make a statement and you get people outraged on the internet, that vocal minority, if you have any smart people around you, those people are going to advise you to walk that back and apologize, because the consequences in the long term for sticking to your guns like that can be more detrimental to the long-term sustainability of your reputation than sticking to your guns. It's simply just not worth the hassle. So best to just walk that back and apologize. But of course, when you feign contrition in that way, you don't really know what you're apologizing for. You're just trying to clean up the mess as best you can by saying, I'm sorry if I offended anyone. So, from that standpoint, I agree with her. Now, outside of that, I'm going to just say this. I'm not going to say that she's wrong, because everyone is entitled to believe what they believe. I'm just going to say I disagree with her. I disagree with her thinking that 50 Cent was somehow being sort of overtly or intentionally racist, misogynistic, ageist, all of these other isms that she introduced into the conversation. And sometimes I think the simple explanation is the right one. He was just being a troll, which is what 50 Cent has been. 50 Cent has a history at this point of being someone who likes to use social media to sort of do "yo mama so fat" jokes, essentially, is what it is. Like, I guess in this day and age that we live in, if we were to make a video doing "yo mama so fat" jokes, people might come for us, calling us whatever word, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the world that we live in today, right? But essentially what 50 Cent has a history of doing now, whether it's been, he did it with Megan Thee Stallion, he did it with Tory Lanez, he did it with Ashanti. The guy is not averse to using the internet and social media to troll people for comedic purposes. Um, I've said this oftentimes. It's an ongoing theme for me when it comes to this whole, you know, going at people for things that they say that are disagreeable. Like, number one, we need to judge people's body of work. And number two, we need to do as good a job of being reasonable with respect to trying to discern their intent. Um, if you believe that 50 Cent was intentionally trying to be misogynistic and ageist and everything else that she said, then fine. I'm not going to argue against that. I don't believe that he was doing that. I really do believe that he was just trying to be funny. Intent has to matter here. If someone's intention is to be funny, then you can call them ignorant and say, hey, man, I know you were trying to be funny, but those jokes didn't really land, and here are the reasons why. So there's a difference between doing that and saying, hey, you were being all those things purposefully. And that's where I kind of come up short with a lot of these people who are so quick to denigrate these public figures and anybody else who just express disagreeable points of view on the internet. So I just disagree with her. I didn't think that he was being all those things because his history is that of an internet troll. He does those things. He has a pattern of behavior with it. And I don't think that 50 Cent's history outside of, unless you want to bring in stuff like Ja Rule and all of that, unless you want to bring in stuff like that, I don't know that there's enough evidence in 50 Cent's public history to suggest that he is intentionally intolerant. I said the same thing about Nick Cannon when Nick Cannon made those comments about Jewish people. There is not enough body of evidence with respect to his history and his career to suggest that he was knowingly being those things. So at best, you can suggest that he was just trying to be funny, but it didn't land and it came off this way, and here are the reasons why. But people don't like to do that. People immediately, want to grab the pitchforks and burn people at the stake. And so that's the 50 Cent angle. Now, the other angle that I want to bring in is the Madonna part of this, okay? And I thought similar things with the Lizzo story. Remember we talked about Lizzo a few weeks ago when she wore her little see-through dress? Mm-hmm. So, Madonna and Lizzo and people like Amber Rose, these people are a contingent of people who are trying to create a utopian society that doesn't resemble what reality is. And, when it comes to Madonna, I'm going to say the same thing, all right, that I said about Lizzo. With Lizzo, my issue was her complaining. If you really are somebody who doesn't care what people think, wear your dress, your see-through dress, and just, brush the dirt off your shoulder. People are going to have things to say because you wore that outfit. If you truly don't care, then keep it moving. But if you do care, and you do because you're making response posts on Instagram crying, literally, and whining about the fact that people are quote unquote body shaming you. If you really do actually care, then my suggestion to you is to stop wasting your emotion and your energy trying to create this perfect utopian society in which people desire to see overweight plus size women wearing outfits like that just as much as they like to see women who are in shape wearing outfits like that. My suggestion to you is get a nutritionist, get a personal trainer, get into the gym and lose weight so that you can be free to wear those outfits without people making comments. But if you care that much about people making comments, do that. And if you really don't care as you claim you do, live your life and wear the dress and just accept that people are going to say what they want to say, because we will not live in a world where you can be Lizzo's body type, wear a see-through dress, and everyone's going to think that it looks just as good as if Brittany Renner wore the dress. We'll never live in that world, so just give it up. It's not going to happen. And, with Madonna, it's kind of the same situation. Like it or not, fair or unfair, at 63 years old, when you wear that, it's not going to have the same impact as one of these little Instagram fitness models who are in their early 20s. That is what it is. Me expressing those points of view does not make me an ageist. It makes me a realist. Like you're not at 63 years old, you don't look the same as you did when you were 23. Stop trying to cast aspersions upon people's characters by suggesting that that is somehow inherently ageist or misogynist. First of all, it can't be misogyny because if the girl was 40 years younger, 50 Cent wouldn't have made a comment. You're both women, so that negates it being a misogynistic comment. So that part I don't get. But even beyond that, it's just like, listen, man, people out here, we're addicted too much to social media and the perpetuation of these false narratives that aren't really real. At 63 years old, when you're going to post those types of pics, somebody or some people may have something to say because you're 63. It is what it is. If it's really not that big of a deal, then just ignore it. Ignore 50 Cent. He's a troll. But you care because you want to push this idea of just completely deconstructing everything that makes sense so that we can create this world where there are no rules, where you can be 50, 60, 80 years old and put that kind of stuff on. And I'm supposed to think that it looks just as good as a woman who's 20, 30 years old putting on that kind of an outfit. It's an unrealistic expectation. And I think her and people like her need to check themselves when they want to make these response videos. Because when I see stuff like that, you just kind of look like you don't understand how to think reasonably as an intelligent human being. This is just my opinion. Um, and furthermore, why she had to make that response with that filter, why are you doing that? I don't understand that. But I suppose that's a unrelated conversation for another day. But that's just how I feel about that. Like I'm getting tired of these people, and I think it's no coincidence that the majority of these people who do this are women, because we're in the midst of trying to do everything that we possibly can to coddle and pander to women's emotional and physical needs and sort of allow them to believe that you can do whatever you want, be as old as you want, as fat as you want, as out of shape as you want. You can be whomever or however you want to be, and it is just as good, beautiful, and acceptable as the antithesis of whatever it is that you're doing. And we'll never live in that world for real. You can live in it in your mind, and you can get into your echo chambers and your silos on the internet where you can think like that with other people who want to live in that dream world. But in reality, that shit don't exist. And so, like, people like her need to check themselves when it comes to making these types of responses, because at this point, it's just getting annoying for me, even more so than it already was.
And well, I mean, I would say I agree with all of that. It was not one part about that I disagree with. Um, I would just add on to this as far as Madonna as a person, as a brand historically. Wow, 63, right?
Yeah,
All right, so that's a crazy. She was born in the 50s.
yeah,
If I'm
yeah.
not mistaken, she was born in the 50s, and so when we're dealing with Madonna, all right, so when she became relevant, because is Madonna talented? Let's ask that question. Hey, is she a talented person? I don't know what she does. Um, she was more of a pop star and a rock star more than a singer when she was singing.
I feel like she was like the. I don't want to misspeak somebody watching this video who's a Madonna fan is gonna be like,
No, no,
ah. But I kind of feel like she was the Britney Spears of her day.
yeah,
So
she was a
when
pop
we
star.
were coming up, yeah,
She was a pop star.
that's kind of the comparison that I make to her when she was in
Right,
her prime.
right, and so that's where I'm getting at as far as talent.
Yeah,
So of course there's Madonna stands, and I mean there's stands for everybody.
yeah,
All right. And so you're going to rub somebody the wrong way when you're talking about historical artists like Madonna or Guns N' Roses or whatever, right?
yeah.
And you're just gonna have to. It's gonna have. So I apologize if
No,
I
don't do
think.
that. No, no, no.
No, hey, no, I'm just saying. If you think she was talented from a singing perspective and all that other stuff, dancing, I don't say that she was. I would say that she was good at what she did. Madonna was a cash cow. She was a gimmick, and she played her role. No different than what Lil Nas X is doing now. So it's to rub people the wrong way sexually. Madonna did that as her job in the 80s and the 90s, just rubbing everybody the wrong way sexually. All right. And planting those seeds of sexual freedom early. And so she did her job as a corporate uh, cash pond, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see much in Madonna's career outside of her being a pop star and playing her role as a pop star.
Mm-hmm.
And so and like I said, her role wasn't to be the best singer, the best dancer. It was to be a slut.
Mm-hmm.
And it was her job was to turn out
Mm-hmm.
American girls, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And so she did her job successfully. This is what someone like Madonna looks like when they turn 60.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're witnessing right now is she doesn't know when to turn the thought off. She's been a thought her entire life. She was so efficient at it that the industry didn't turn her out. If anything, Madonna was turning people out, from what I hear.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So she's right on that cusp. If there's industry weirdos, she's one of them. How could she not? That's why she was talking about that thing of, hey, 50, you know me. Hey, we had parties, 50.
Yeah.
Me and you had parties together. Why you acting all brand new now?
But the thing is, he's not acting brand new. Like they're acquainted with each other. I'm pretty sure that response caught 50 off guard, because
yeah,
50 was like, "I'm just being funny, trolling. I know this chick. What's the big deal?" She did what she did to placate to a narrative in this country that is ongoing of, "Hey,
Shame.
we are yes, exactly, yeah, and I am gonna be a part of the movement that puts a stop to this." At every turn, even when what I'm putting a stop to isn't something that was actually supposed to be offensive in the first place.
Yeah. And so what she's doing now, she's paving the way, much like how she did for the young thoughts back then. She's paving the way for the older thoughts. Hey, it's okay to be old and thoughty and post risque pictures online, because you're still gonna get your likes, ladies. You're still
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
listen, now there's this thing, and this is what men have to understand. All right, women have egos too. Okay, and so when they get old, most of them, a lot of them, and this is not even my logic. Let me just take the logic of what's currently going on in on internet talk about with males, that women hit this wall and they're trash after that. They're just unattractive, and nobody would have had sex with Pam Grier, right? Oh, she's trash, right? She's still not hot, right? People would have still been all over Pam Grier, well in her 40s,
Absolutely.
right? People would have been all over Holly Berry, way in her 40s. Stacey
Even
Dash,
now.
and so it's now. Granted, I'm naming the cream of the crop. Oh, you're just naming the 5%. What about the rest of them? All right, bro, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that not all women hit this wall and are just trash.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do they hit a genetic wall where they can't have kids anymore? Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about looking in the mirror, feeling good about yourself. Women are entitled to feel that way, even when they're 50 years old or 60. Right now, the only way a woman can express herself about feeling good is posting pictures on the internet.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so when we have somebody like Madonna, who was at the cutting edge of thoughtism, why not be one of the 60-year-old celebrities who is actually thoughting online? Why not? So she's just doing what she's always been doing. And so to me, I'm not surprised by this. What I am surprised by is, like what you said, her adopting the whole being shamed.
Yeah.
Girl, you were the biggest sleuth out there, the biggest one, and you took pride in it.
Yeah.
Back then, now all of a sudden you're being shamed. Girl, stop.
Yeah.
And so you're not being shamed. like you said, bro. And to switch this over to 50, who, if you know 50, like how you say you know 50, then you know he's a troll.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know that there's nothing that he said. You want to talk about doing stuff for likes? He did it for likes. He got a show to
Absolutely.
promote.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So this whole thing where she wants to take it that way is her clout chasing, dare I say?
Left wing clout chasing. That's it's
dare,
she. I think
dare I
that
say?
it is vogue now. It's in vogue to do that. Oh, somebody said like I said, like listen. No, I'm not a woman, but I don't care. Like those at best, those were disagreeable posts from 50 at best, which means on the worst day in the world, the only thing that you can call that is disagreeable. It certainly does not border on reprehensible to the point where this guy has to make this national apology on the internet. This stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you brought up the notion of her thoughtism from back in the day. You know, what's so interesting about previous generations is one can argue that on a macro level, there were less inhibitions in previous generations than there are now. It's an interesting argument to make. You can make it, not necessarily saying that that's a true statement, but you can make that. You had the whole sexual revolution going on, rock and roll, and raves and concerts and all of that kind of stuff. People were wilding out, getting loose back then, and we're talking the '60s and the '70s. And she was in the midst of that. And so I think a part of what we're witnessing now is similar to rap. So like we're at the point now where hip hop as a music form is finally beginning to age because it only just started in the '80s, right? Really.
Yeah.
I mean, people say that the first rap song came out like in the late '70s or something, but realistically, it became a part of the American consciousness in the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about a form of music that is literally only about 30 years old,
mm-hmm.
which is, it pales in comparison to rock and roll, to country, to blues, to jazz, all of these other forms of music that are damn near 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop is, and so what we're seeing now is a lot of these rappers that are getting older and aging, there's this pushback because it's just now getting older. So there's this idea that you can't exist within that culture if you get to a certain age,
right.
Which is unreasonable because you still got these people in rock and roll who are doing shows in their 70s.
Exactly.
So there's a hypocrisy there, and it has everything to do with the perception of what it is that we're dealing with. But the point is, like, hip hop is starting to age for the first time, and I think that pushback comes from the fact that it just looks weird because we've never seen it. We've never seen old rappers. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know what 60-year-old rappers look like yet, really.
Right.
I mean, certain guys are getting there. Jay-Z's in his 50s, but I wouldn't say that he's an active rapper anymore. I mean, he hops in from every now and again, but
so let me do real quick. So if we were talking about that, it's Jay-Z's, Nas's, and Bun B's, and Big Boys of music. And even if they pop in every now and then, if it's age appropriate, which they are making now, they're making age appropriate music.
Right.
Then at that point, it's like, well, can you? I was telling somebody else this. We're right now at the day and age where your brand, everybody's their own brand now. And so part of your brand is that you rap.
Mm-hmm.
I do everything else, but I also make music too, by the way. And I also do art over here, and I got NFTs over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then so right now, everybody is a thing. So people like Bun B could be a professor somewhere like he is.
Yeah.
He could do that and then turn around and make an album or make a song that's age appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. So hip hop has aged to the point to where there are people who are in, that were in the game that could dabble in there every once in a while. Because when Jay-Z popped out and did the 444 thing, man, you know what I'm saying? At the time, it had everybody tuned in.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, The guy didn't miss a beat. Right now, if he hopped on a feature or something like that, it's the best part of whoever's
Oh yeah,
song
no,
it is.
he's still the best.
Right.
It's just, yeah, there's just this idea. So, and here's one thing. Well, I will sort of side with people like Madonna.
Mm-hmm.
Is I think we need to learn how to become more comfortable with the idea that you can exist in certain lanes regardless of age. Like we need to get rid of this idea that you can't exist in rap because you're of a certain age.
Right. Right.
Like all of that is ridiculous. And you
Right.
brought up a good point. For my money, talent wise, Jay-Z is still better than everybody currently rapping. He's in his 50s, and all of these younger dudes can't touch him, lyrically at least. But I think the pushback where people say, hey, you can't do this, that merely comes from the fact that it's something that's never been seen.
Exactly.
And so when it's something that you haven't seen yet, people's natural reaction to it is to sort of resist it because there's a fear inherent in the unknown.
Right.
And so for people like Madonna, because I agree with you, you got thoughts that's getting up there. You don't you don't cease being a thought, right?
Exactly.
So like if you were a thought 20 years, 20, 25, 30, you're in your 60s, 70s, you still got that. Like that's still in you.
And these are new age. This is new age thoughtism.
Yeah.
So were there old fast women? You better believe there were.
Yeah.
And when they got older, were they still fast? You better believe they were. But it was a different speed.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing with Madonna is like you have a point in that people sort of attach age to a certain thing like unreasonably, but where she loses me is this idea that people who critique it are being intentionally ageist. Right, and the thing about it is, like you brought up the thing about age appropriate. Madonna, be a thought at 63, but be realistic about the world that you live in. At 63, be an age appropriate thought. Don't be a thought at 63 because you think that you can compete with women who are in their early 20s. Like you can't.
Right.
You cannot. And if someone such as myself or 50 Cent makes fun of you for trying to do that,
exactly,
it is ridiculous to call that person an ageist.
And honestly, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's no different than 50 running out there acting like these little kids right now with all their emo rap.
Right.
And he's running out there trying to dress like them and be like this. Well, what are you doing?
Yes.
Act your age.
Yes.
And if you can still be 50 and rap your age.
Yeah.
You can still be a fast woman and take pictures that are suggesting you're fast, but they're not racy.
You're not doing that. Yeah, exactly. That's some straight up OnlyFans. Like those are some straight up OnlyFans Instagram pics. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, look at Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle Union wrote a book talking about her porn addiction and her addiction to masturbation and her sex addiction. You mean to tell me she's not thottish? And Gabrielle Union is what, 50?
Yeah.
Like she's up there, bro. So the thing is, by the way, she looks extraordinary for her age.
She really
but the thing is, like, she's not posting that. Like, and the thing is, if she were to do that, it would be well within 50 Cent's right to make fun of her for trying to do it because what are you doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing?
Well, see, so now with the Amber Roses, because she's the one who's honestly, or at least one of the pioneers of this shaming talk.
Yeah.
She's the one that always slut shaming.
Right. And she only did that to try and reconcile her own insecurities for, in fact, being a slut.
And so what's going on is the spreading of basically, like, what's the word I want to use? They're basically spreading irrational, what's the word that rationalizations. They basically are rationalizing their thoughtism to the extent that they created a whole way of thinking to alleviate you for being a thought in the first place.
Yeah.
It's like, wait. Yes, you're a thought, which is shameful in itself.
Yeah.
That's why people get shamed for being that. And so let me correct this real quick, because there's male and there's female thoughts, right? So you could be one or the other, right? The shameful part about being a sloop for the most part is the fact that when being one, you're not even happy with yourself when you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, you're not even, if you're not, if at night you're crying after doing your night on the town, doing your escapades,
Mm-hmm.
but do you have your dark moments from the lifestyle that you're not happy with the life you're living.
Absolutely not.
That's a shameful life. You feel
Yeah.
some type of regret for your life. So when somebody comes around and calls it for you and say, hey, by the way, I should shame you for living like this because I can overtly see it. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
call it as it is. Of course, nobody wants the mirror showing up on them. So then they
Yes.
go immediately, you're shaming me. This is helping me comfort and feel better. So now this logic has created, like, people were born into, you're shaming me. No, that's not even
Mm-hmm.
like, what is that? That's a
Mm-hmm.
psychosis in itself, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, this is madness. And for people like Madonna to pick it up and run with it,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, it's just like, I mean, I'm not surprised,
Yeah.
but
Neither am I.
but for her age and for her life historically, for her to actually, ha ha ha, laugh in the face of danger, to now cower away and go, wah wah, woe is me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I'm
You're
the victim
shaming.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. You're shaming and bullying me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Well, you know what they say, and I believe this. You know when you're hinting at the truth when people get the most upset.
Yeah.
Because if you say something to me and it doesn't hit home, I can ignore it as nonsense. But for me to become defensive to the point where I want to publicly defend it, there's some truth to that. And I agree with you 100%. I think when people engage in these movements and these think tanks, slut walks, and all of this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
it serves as a way for you
Think
to
tank.
somehow reconcile the insecurities with the way you've chosen to live your life.
Right.
And if you knew that there was nothing wrong with it, there would be no reason to be insecure about it.
Exactly.
Period. So when you're doing these things, it is nothing more than a reconciliation. People can see through that. Okay. So Lizzo, Madonna, Amber Rose, all of these people, you get on social media and you're crying about it. Okay. There's some pain. There's something inside of you knows that this ain't all right. That's why you're crying about it. It's not the fact that people are getting on you for bullying you. It's the fact that they're telling you something that's true that you don't like about yourself.
Exactly.
And so all of these things were always bogus from the get-go. It's just unfortunate that you get all of these corporations and these corporate advertisers and these political parties and these politicians that attach themselves to these people's insecurities and their attempts to reconcile those insecurities in such a way that they are trying to curry favor for themselves. So if I can attach myself to Amber Rose, Amber Rose's attempt to completely deconstruct all forms of decency with respect to sexuality, then I can get all of those people who believe in her on my side. It's a quick way around trying to convince them that I'm the right person for the job. Let me just tap into their ethos by getting them to believe that I'm an ally. And so, and the thing is, when they do this stuff, all you're doing is just galvanizing the effort, and you're increasing the level of ridiculousness that it is. You're getting more people to say, hey, enough with the shaming, enough with the bullying. You're getting more people to say, hey, I'm going to be, 300 pounds and put on my see-through dress and you better not say nothing. You're getting more people on this kind of stuff because they are going to get the reinforcement of this coalition. I'm just very uncomfortable with the way that we're just totally trying to deconstruct things that make sense. It's like, stop. Why are we trying to deconstruct things that make sense? Like this is a problem.
That's where we're at, bro.
Listen, look, like I said, maybe not so much Jada Pinkett because she's kind of going off the rails, but you got people like the aforementioned Gabrielle Union. She's an older thought who does it the right way. You know what I'm saying? You got people like Melissa Ford. She got a podcast talking about sex. She thoughts in the right way. Yeah. There's ways to do it. Like, we live in a world of reality. We don't live in a world of pie in the sky. When you do it the wrong way, you're going to get called out for it. Now, if you really are about that life, stop giving a shit that you're getting called out for it. But if you're going to get on your soapbox and bitch and complain whenever people critique what you're doing, it exposes you for insecurities, number one, and it shows that you're not really about that and that you do really care. So you either need to conform to what is the right way to do it or just shut the hell up. But stop it with all of this victimhood and this victim mentality and this I'm being bullied. You're calling me a misogynist. That man wasn't calling that woman a misogynist. I mean, he wasn't being a misogynist. He was not being an ageist. He wasn't doing any of that. So it is what it is. But we'll go ahead and end it there.